Hi guys, welcome to Creatively Homemade. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to watch my latest video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jennifer and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So I love to share stamping and all sorts of paper crafting projects with you. So all this week I've been sharing projects made with the Candy Cane Season stamp set and the corresponding Candy Cane Builder punch. So the last project for the week is a cute little hot cocoa favor. You simply pull up on the knot at the top and the packet of hot cocoa comes out. These are great gifts for coworkers or your mailman or for your kids to send in for class parties. My kids are in high school now. They don't have class parties anymore, but they still like to give out little treats to their friends on the last day before winter break. So I am making a whole bunch of these up for them to take in and give out to their friends. So let's get started and I'll show you how easy this is to put together. Okay, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about some of the tools and supplies we're going to use. So as I mentioned before, you're going to need the Candy Cane Season stamp set and the corresponding Candy Cane Builder punch. If you purchase both of these together as a bundle, you save 10%, so that's a good option to save a little bit of money, and I've got the link to that bundle down in the description box below. You're also going to need a scoring board to make your folds. If you don't have a scoring board, you can also use the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, as that has a scoring blade on it. You're going to need a couple of die sets. I'm using the layering circles and the stitch shapes die set. I'm going to be using the scallop circle die and the stitch circle die. You're also going to need a couple of handheld tools. The brand doesn't really matter. These aren't Stampin' Up! Products, but I use them all the time. This is the We Are Memory Capers corner chomper. It rounds corners and it'll go through multiple sheets at a time. So it's perfect for this project where it's going through multiple layers. And then this is the slot punch. That's going to make this ribbon hole up here at the top. And then, of course, you're going to need some paper. For this particular project, I used the Festive Farmhouse Designer Series paper. So I used a cherry cobbler background. You can use any Christmas paper you like. I just really like the Festive Farmhouse. Just pick some ink and cardstock colors that match your paper. And then lastly, you're going to need some hot cocoa mix. I'm just using the standard boxed kind. Comes 6 or 10 packs to a box, and that is the size that is going to be used in this pouch. Now there are different sizes of hot cocoa pouches, so if you use the one in the box, they will fit. Okay, let's get started with cutting our paper. You're going to need a piece of cardstock that is 7 3/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. So you can get 2 of these hot cocoa favors from 1 sheet of cardstock. You're going to need 2 little rectangles of Designer Series paper. I'm using Festive Farmhouse. These are 3 1/4 inches by 4 1/2 inches. And then you're going to need a tiny little strip of cardstock that is a 1/2 inch wide and 3 1/2 inches long. Now go ahead and put your cardstock with the long edge up at the top of your scoring board, and you're going to need to score that at 3 5/8 inches and 7 1/4 inches. Okay, let's go ahead and assemble our pouch. So go ahead and fold on those score lines. And then we're just going to use some tear and tape adhesive on that inner tab to hold this together. Anytime you are making something that is going to be opened or a favor or anything like that, you want to use a stronger adhesive. So I recommend the tear and tape adhesive. That's a good one to use. And then you just need to remove that backing and then fold it together. You just want to make sure the corners match up. Okay. Then press that seam to seal. Now pull out your corner rounder. I'm using the 1/2 inch radius and round all those corners. I just think it gives it a more finished look. You can leave them straight if you want, certainly. Okay, and then you want to pull out that slot punch, center it on one of the top, or on the top edge, and give it a punch, and that will be where your ribbon runs through. Next, we're going to do some stamping. I'm going to be using that bow. I'm going to be using the sentiment "'Tis the Sweet Season," and then both of these candy canes. So anytime you're doing a two-step stamping process, I recommend using the Stamparatus for perfect placement. So I'm just going to put my paper on there and put the magnet to hold it in place. I like to use the mini Stampin' Spots for the Stamparatus so it doesn't get too much ink around the edges. You might get a little, but if you do, it wipes off very easily with baby wipes. So I'm going to stamp the candy cane outline first, and then I'm going to stamp the stripes. And that Stamparatus just makes it so much easier to do that. Now if you notice here a little bit, it's kind of blotchy, so it didn't stamp perfectly. The nice thing about the Stamparatus, I can just go back and re-ink that stamp. And since it's going to be perfectly placed, I can stamp right over it and get a better image the second time. Okay, now we also want to stamp that bow. I'm going to stamp that on white just at the bottom here. Both of these, the candy cane and the bow, are going to be punched out with the candy cane builder punch. And then lastly, stamp the sentiment on that little 1/2 inch strip. And you want to try to center it the best you can. I recommend standing over it and stamping. I can't do that since I've got the video camera above me, so I'm going to do it the best I can. But if you're standing over it, you can see right through it and stamp it perfectly in the center. Okay, let's do some paper punching next. So I've pulled out my candy cane builder punch, and I'm going to punch out both the bow and the candy cane. If you flip your punch over, it makes it super easy to line up and punch out the shape. So there's the bow, and then I'm just going to turn that paper around and line up that candy cane. And give that a punch. And then the last bit of paper punching I want to do, I pulled out my banner triple punch, and I just want fishtail ends on that little sentiment. So if you turn that punch over and insert that strip, you just want to center it there and give it a punch, and it gives it a nice little fishtail end. And then just repeat it for the other side. Now if you don't have this punch, no problem, just cut the little fishtail ends with your scissors. And there's the banner. Okay, the next step is to pull out your die cut machine and cut some circle dies. I'm using the stitched circle from the Stitch Shapes die set, and I'm using the layering circles, the scalloped circle from the layering circles die set. Let me pull out a ruler. I didn't measure these ahead of time. The die you want, it looks like it's 2 3/8 inch on that stitched circle, and on the scalloped circle it's approximately 3 inches in diameter. So I'm using a piece of Whisper White cardstock for that stitched shape. Run that through. I just love the edging around on this Stitch Shapes die set. That is one of my favorites, I think. I use it all the time. And then put a piece of cherry cobbler cardstock down and that scalloped circle die. And that's all you need to do with your die cut machine, so you can set that aside. Okay, now we have all the pieces and we can put this together. So I've just pulled out some adhesive. I have my Stampin' Dimensionals in both the regular and mini sizes. I have mini glue dots, and I have my snail adhesive tape runner. You're also going to need some 1/2 inch ribbon, just whatever matches your paper, and then some scissors. So let's get started putting these pieces together. Start with those Designer Series paper rectangles, and you want to add adhesive to the back of that. I recommend going all the way around the edge, since you want it to make sure it sticks down when the hot cocoa is in there, and it's going to be bulging out a little bit. Just center that piece on the front, flip it over, and do the same thing for the back. Okay. Next, you want to adhere that little bow shape to the candy cane. I'm just using a mini glue dot for that. And adhere it about in the center of the stem there. Next, go ahead and adhere the white circle to the cherry cobbler base. I'm just using tape runner for that. Okay. The next thing you want to do is put the "'Tis the Sweet Season" sentiment down at the bottom. I'm going to be using Stampin' Dimensionals for that. You can see this is the one I messed up when I couldn't really see the placement while I was on camera, so I just stamped it again so it's better centered. If you mess up on something, you can on stamping something, you can always just turn the paper over and try it again. Nobody's perfect. So I'm removing the adhesive backing from those Stampin' Dimensionals. These are the mini ones. They're perfect for smaller shapes. And adhere that maybe a ½ inch from the bottom of that designer series paper. So it looks like that. Then we're going to take this circle shape and adhere it above it with Stampin' Dimensionals. And you can use the regular size ones for this one. And I use about 3 on the back. I'm just taking the adhesive backing off of it with my paper piercing tool. If you don't have nails, a paper piercing tool is a lifesaver with those Stampin' Dimensionals. So adhere that right above your sentiment. And then we're going to add mini Stampin' Dimensionals to the back of our candy cane. I do one at the end, both ends, and one about in the center. Oops. Sometimes those backings just don't want to come off. There we go. And then I'm going to tilt that candy cane at a little bit of an angle and adhere it right in the center of that circle. Now the last thing you want to do is add some ribbon. So you're going to need a 15-inch length of ribbon and cut the end at an angle. I'm using some very vanilla ribbon that I have on hand. You can use anything that matches your designer series paper. You just want it to be between 3/8 inch and 5/8 inch, so it'll go in that slot punch. So go ahead and put that through the hole there. And then we're going to take our hot cocoa packet. I'm using Nestle, but Swiss Miss is the same size of packet, so it will fit these little pouches. And slide it down in there. If you can see from the other side, the ribbon is going to hold it in place so it does not fall out the bottom. So after you get all the hot cocoa down in there, you want to adjust that ribbon so that it has an even length on both tails, and then just tie a knot at the top. That's going to hold your hot cocoa packet in there, and it's also going to serve as the way that you can remove it. To remove the hot cocoa packet, all you have to do is hold that knot and pull up, and it comes out so easy. And then you can just push it back down in there to store it. So that's it. Super easy to make and so much fun to make for a favor for Christmas this year. So that's all there is to it. These hot cocoa favors are so easy to put together. You can make a whole bunch for a class party or your co-workers in no time at all. So I actually went ahead and made up several more of these. I used the different paper from the Festive Farmhouse Designer Series paper pack. Most of these I put the ribbon here at the little sentiment ribbon at the bottom, the banner I guess you would call it. This one I actually put it across the candy cane, so I thought that turned out kind of cute. So be sure to leave me a comment below and let me know which of these you preferred. I think I actually prefer it with the banner here at the bottom, but I think this looks cute too. So I hope you have found this video to make hot cocoa favors using the Candy Cane Season stamp set to be helpful, and I hope it has inspired you to do some Christmas crafts. Now, if you're interested in any of the supplies that I featured during this video, including that cute Candy Cane Season stamp set, I will have links down in the description box below that will go directly to my online Stampin' Up! Store where you can purchase those or get more information. If you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would be so appreciative if you would choose to purchase through my links. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to see more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Until next time, happy crafting!